Good evening, friends. It is my pleasure to introduce this year's recipient of Waxman Design Automation Standards Committee Meritorious Service Awards. This award is presented every year to someone who has played a visionary leadership role and has made a significant contribution to the design automation standards activities. Before I continue, please allow me to introduce Dr. Waxman. It is due to his vision, guidance, and tireless efforts for more than 30 years that design automation standards activities are thriving under the IEEE Standards Association. When we present this award, we recognize the person who embodies and upholds this spirit. I must also offer an apology on behalf of my colleague, Dr. Stan Kolikowski, Chair of the Design Automation Standards Committee, who had every intention to be here today. Unfortunately, he hurt his back earlier this week and was unable to travel, so he sends his regards. So as his deputy in the DASC and as the chair of the nominations committee, it's my honor to execute this tough task of introducing this year's award recipient. I started writing a book about this recipient, but then realized that we don't have that much time, so I cut it down to only single space, 8 font, 60 pages. Well, then I went through and deleted a few things. This year's recipient was so far ahead of his time that he had already made significant contributions to the design automation industry while I was doing my kindergarten math counting apples. He had already trained more engineers at IBM in standards than the number of transistors I could fit in my first chip design. Not only he has taught me all there is to know about chip design, standards, consulting business, and even a thing or two about the life in general, he was also instrumental in getting Stan to work at IBM. But that's enough about Stan and me. Let's get to there. It gives me great pleasure to ask my close friend and a longtime mentor, Larry Saunders, to join us up here and accept this year's award. As he comes up here, let me provide a few highlights of his career and his contribution to the design automation industry, and particularly to the standards community. Mr. Larry Saunders is one of the original members of the electronic design automation community who not only recognized the need for a language-based system design methodology, but also understood the importance of its standardization to build and nurture a community around it. He was a key contributor to the original Department of Defense VISIC program, the predecessor to VHDL. As the founding member and chair of the VHDL Analysis Standardization Group, he led the first working group to create IEEE Standard 1076-1987 in just under 2 years, but a remarkable achievement of that time. Subsequently, in collaboration with Dr. Waxman and others, he co-founded and later chaired the Design Automation Standards Committee, Standards Subcommittee, EASS, which was the sponsoring group of all design automation standards projects in IEEE, and the predecessor of today's Design Automation Standards Committee, the DASC. Larry also received IEEE Outstanding Contribution Award for his leadership. For nearly 20 years, Larry worked energetically to increase adoption of VHDL standard through tools development, tutorials, design consulting, writing, and other forms of education that built the international user community. In addition to creating and developing the VHDL standard, Larry focused significantly in promotion and adoption of VHDL-based design methodologies. He conducted hundreds of public training sessions at conferences and user groups, as well as private tutorials at companies across the globe. He was one of the few VHDL experts that the electronic design industry respected, not just for interpreting the language, but the proper use of it in deploying at various stages in the chip and system design process. Larry co-founded VHDL User Group, which merged with VHDL International to form VHDL International Users Forum, the primary organization that promoted use and adoption of VHDL for more than a decade. He was also a co-founder of Seva Technologies, a leader in HDL-based design and verification services in Silicon Valley from 1994 until 2001. Larry worked at IBM from 1976 until 1991 as an advisory engineer, design engineer, where he was a key contributor and manager for development of VHDL-based design, verification, and test tools, and received the IBM Outstanding Technical Achievement Award. There is an IEEE Senior member and an IEEE Computer Society Core member. Please join me in congratulating Larry for the award and thanking him for his many years of contribution to the design automation industry. The citation on the plaque reads, for pioneering the standardization of VHDL that fundamentally changed the electronic system design process. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Saunders.
I'd like to add a few words. Back in the 80s, IBM was one of the companies that was awarded the contract by the government for the high-speed language. It was VISC, very high-speed integrated circuit language. And I was the team leader there, and I said, you know, I'm going to need help on this now. Larry worked in Minnesota, I worked in Virginia, and we actually connected, and he was the drive behind the efforts on the IBM side, technically, although I was there too, but he was a technical guy, I was a good salesman. And together, we forged a team that started the standards committee, and then we brought it to IEEE for IEEE standard. But without Larry, it wouldn't have happened. And there are a lot of other people too that were very involved, but he was a key member. So it gives me great pleasure to see him receive this award today.
Yatin, sitting there listening to you, it occurs to me that you missed your calling. You should be a writer of science fiction. You'd have a fortune. Ron, thank you a lot for taking a chance on a brash young IBM engineer. I really appreciate it. And then I think I need to say thank you to all the people who made this possible for me. I worked with several hundred volunteers creating standards over the years. My abiding recollection is it was kind of like herding cats. But they are the people who made this possible. So thank you all.